What's going on, everybody? You are watching Wild Fed Family, and thank you for watching. So today, that's exactly what we're going to be doing. We're going to be feeding the family. Now, I have a super underutilized cut of meat, and a lot of times it's either overlooked, thrown out, or thrown into the grind pile. But this time, I got a whole venison neck that we are going to turn into some delicious smoked tacos. So keep on watching, and let's get to smoking some meats. So this right here is the star of the show. This is a whole venison neck. This part is where it attaches just at the base of the shoulders, and right there is where you typically find the head. Now a lot of that stuff that you're looking at is silver skin and sinews. I've trimmed all the fat off of it, but I'm gonna leave all that on there because as this slowly cooks down, all of that is gonna turn into collagen, which is gonna flavor this. And venison naturally is pretty lean, so that collagen almost replaces that, smooth fattiness and flavor that you get from beef. But this needs to go into here, and right now is slightly too big, so what I'm gonna do is break it down right down the middle, and it'll make it a little bit easier to work with. All right, so we got that split up, and you really just got to find the joints and work your knife in it. It can be a little challenging, but that's really all you need. You don't need to go hacking with the saw. So now that I got the two portions, we got to season it up. And this is basically just a custom little rub. I got some salt, garlic powder, chili powder, onion powder, oregano, smoked paprika, cumin, cayenne pepper, black pepper, and some salt. Now, all I'm gonna do is mix this together, rub it into that neck really well and work it in, and we'll go from there. All right, it's all mixed up. Sprinkle some on, and just rub it down. Now this is a fairly large piece of meat too, so don't be afraid to season it well. You're not going to over salt it. It'll all work in, it'll be all right. So be generous with your seasonings, and you're gonna be glad you did later when it's on your plate. It already smells good. Alright, soak up all the leftovers. We'll move on to the next step. Alright, so when I showed you this pot earlier, you're probably wondering what was in it. This is actually beef tallow. And what I want is a good layer of fat that's sitting on the bottom of this cast iron pot while it's smoking, because we're going to smoke it in this pot. That's going to do two things. It's going to help maintain some of this moisture. It's going to give it nice brown crust on the bottom. And I guess three things. We're going to use that later for when we're frying up our tacos. All right, so you can use a couple different things. You can get the tub of lard at Walmart, Kroger if you don't have any sort of beef tallow. I think the beef tallow works best. Or you can use bacon fat. Just make sure you have a little bit of fat in the bottom of your cast iron pot or whatever pot that you're going to be using in the smoker. So here we go. Both chunks of meat. I'm just going to set them in like that. And that's it. We got to put it in the smoker. Now, I was going to use my stick burner for this, but I have a lot of things that I want to get done today. And that's really the convenience of using a pellet smoker. You're able to set the temperature and just let it go, walk away, and monitor your internal temp with a probe. So I'm going to slide this in the smoker just like this at 275 degrees and walk away until the internal temp is right around 160 degrees. Oh, not to mention it also rained last night, so it wet my whole wood pile, and I just don't feel like fighting a fire right now. All right, we have smoke rolling. Let's load this thing up. All right, this right here just goes on the middle rack. Close it. Set our smoker temp 275. Well, I'll go with 250 to begin with. And oh, I forgot to put the probe in. Here we go. Probe is in. Now we can walk away, do our chores, and come back at 160 internal temp. So it's been about 2.5 hours, and right now the neck is at 140, 141 degrees internal temp. So what I'm gonna do is start making some sauce. Now, the sauce that I'm gonna make is made out of these peppers. I'm not even gonna bother trying to pronounce it because I'm just gonna botch it. So that's what you need. They're dried peppers in a bag. You can find them in the Mexican section at the store, or you can grow your own peppers and dehydrate them. But for this video, we're using the bag kind from the store. So here's the pepper out of the bag. It's almost like a leathery texture, but it's still got the stem attached. So all I'm gonna do is pluck that stem off, chuck it in the yard, and I'm gonna do that to all these peppers. But right here, I have a pot of cold water right now with no heat turned on. I'm gonna load those up. That's probably about half a gallon of water, and let them soak for a second, and then we'll crank the heat up. So let me pluck all these stems, throw them in the pot, and we'll go on from there. All right, all these peppers are in the cold water, submerged, and now I'm gonna turn the heat on and bring these up to a simmer. All right, my peppers are boiling, and all I'm gonna do is turn off the heat completely, put a lid on it, and I'm gonna let that sit for about half an hour to let those fully hydrate and get nice and soft. All right, so my peppers have been sitting for about half an hour, and I have an immersion blender right here, and I'm just gonna go to town and blend this all up until it's a smooth consistency. Now, if you don't have one of these, just put it in a regular house blender and yeah, turn it into a sauce. So I have my sauce right here, and as you can see, it's you know, thin, almost enchilada sauce like, but it really doesn't have a whole lot of flavor other than the mild chili flavor. So what I'm gonna do is I got 2 limes, so I'm gonna put the juice of 2 limes in it, and then I also have salt and sugar. Now the salt obviously just brings it up to a edible salty flavor, and the sugar, these peppers have a slight bitterness to them, not too overwhelming, but I like to add a little splash of sugar in there, and it really evens things out. So even though it was intentional, I'm surprised it worked out so well, because as soon as I got done making this sauce, my venison necks hit 160 degrees, and I pulled them out, and this is a look at them. Ooh, that's hot. All right, so you can see it's nice and red around the edges, sort of crusted up. You can see that the smoke penetrated it, and that's what you want. Also, you got a nice layer of beef tallow that's on the bottom, but we're gonna spice this up a little bit and put it back in the smoker to braise. So let me show you what we're adding. All right, so right in front of me, I got a couple things. I got 2 onions, yellow onions. You can use sweet onions, halved. What I like to do is leave the end on so that it kind of holds together a little bit, and just stuff them where you can. Now I also have 3 large cloves of garlic that I just chopped up in half. Same thing with the onions, cram it in the crevices, and I got some cilantro from the garden, and just throw it on top. Now here is where you're gonna get all the flavor from. So I got my sauce there, I got all my smoked meats with fresh vegetables, and what I want to do is just dump this sauce over the top of it and fill in any sort of gaps so that all of this is covered in liquid. Now you can still see I have some sauce left, and I can use that to add to salsas, etc. But right now we're just gonna go ahead and stick a lid on this, and back in the smoker goes at 250, and I'm gonna let it go for a couple hours. I'm gonna try to sneak my probe in here and let the meat get to about 200 degrees internal temp, but basically until it falls apart and pulls off the bone, and then we will be ready to make some tacos out of it, and it's gonna be so good. But for the time being, this is gonna take a little bit, so I'll stick it back in there, and I got a tree stand to hang, so I'm gonna do that. And this is carefree cooking. All right, guys, it is not a different day. I'm just wearing a different shirt and a different getup because the tree stand that I hung was in a tree that was slap full of poison ivy. So I took a Dawn dish detergent shower. Little tip if you get into poison ivy. So here we are, and I just pulled this meat out of the smoker. So there's three things that I got to do. One, I got to get the fat off the top, and now that fat is chili infused beef tallow, and it's going to be slap full of flavor. Two, I need to get the meat out and pull it off the bone. And three, I need to separate the sauce. Once we do all of those three things, then we can start making some tacos. All right, it's taco time. Now you can do this in a pan, but right now I have a cast iron pan that is on the gas cooktop of my smoker. And all I'm gonna do is add a little bit of fat and fry up some tacos. Couple corn tortillas, throw them right in the hot oil, and do one more. There we go. Mozzarella cheese. Cooking.
Yeah, the tortilla assortment.
I just put the first couple on. Last but not least, top it off with some meat and let them fry up. All I gotta do now is fold these suckers into tacos. And yeah, dinner is served. All right, y'all, dinner is done. Sorry I'm outside because I have my brother and sister-in-law and our niece is over and my daughter, and everybody's yelling and screaming, but that's okay because that means they're having a good time. But this is it. So I got my tacos, I got a little bit of cilantro from the garden, some homemade salsa, some lime, some pickled radishes. Now you can top this with whatever you want, but it doesn't matter, it's still gonna be good because venison neck is fantastic, and you should not put it through the grinder. Leave it in the bone on and cook it low, slow, and smoky. So I'm going inside, I'm going to eat. This is gonna be fantastic. Thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing, and I am about 4 subscribers away from 500, so if you're number 500, then I'm gonna give you a super big thank you, and for all of the 499, thanks. But until then, I'm gonna see you on the next video. Sit down, eat these tacos, and I am out. Later.